Hey, what's up, great people? I'm Vedui for the 2. I'm taking a look at awesome Alpha 20 pieces. Now, I'm in Alpha 19, but I'm going to use this as the basis for showing a bunch of really cool stuff. Now, I've gone through new zombies, new weapons, and the distant terrain, which is getting an improvement as well. And you can see all these videos in the playlist below, so go check them out after this video. But today, we're going to be looking at the new organic city generation that is going to be looking really good for Alpha 20. Now, in doing so, I will be showing you some footage from early in the game. I'm going to go back to Alpha 12 so you can see how far it's come and how, in my view, we're getting the goal version of city generation. I can practically guarantee you that you'll be blown away how far it's come and how awesome it's going to look in Alpha 20. So, while you can jump forward to the Alpha 20 footage, you should really spend a couple of minutes to check out the old city generation to really understand it that I'm going to be showing now. And while I switch it up, take a moment to hit that like button, subscribe. It's free for you, but it tells YouTube to push my channel, which helps me grow. I will definitely appreciate it, but let's move on. Now, I've loaded up Alpha 20, and this was obviously not the first version, but it's a great approximation of how it sort of worked for quite a few of the cities as they were generated in the earlier versions. Now, I'm coming up to a town here. It's not really quite a city, and you can see, well, there's a bunch of roads in there. You know, they're supposed to be city streets. They're not super well done either. You'll see here there's a big gap here as it goes from the terrain up here to the city. It looks a little bit unnatural. And then we have a bunch of buildings, but it's basically just, there's a square of crisscrossing streets that basically are laid out here. And some of these lots are empty, but some of them have houses. And that's all you really get to see because there were not that many POIs in the game. There's a lot of duplication. So this one is the same as this, and there's some individual unique ones in between. And that was really boring. It's a square grid, and that's it. You don't really have anything beyond that. Square grid, roads, and a lot of noisy zombies that are making their way out. I guess I woke them up. But it looks really boring. It was all right for what it was. A small city will have something like this, a couple of cross streets, and that's it. Big ones will be slightly bigger, but they're pretty much all the same. There weren't that many POIs, and even if you went to a different city, I normally just went for the Barnes & Noble, Shotgun Messiah, and working stiff tools. That was about it. It wasn't super interesting. It sort of worked for how the game was at that point of time, but it wasn't really that interesting. Once you found a couple of cities, and here we have a Shotgun Messiah, we have the bookstore over there, you sort of just, you explored it, and, that was about it. It wasn't really exciting to find it, except for all the zombies. There were so many zombies around. Just look at all these zombies. Oh, I just wish we had all these zombies in Alpha 19 as well. But anyway, I'm back here in Alpha 19, and you'll see that the city generation is a lot better. They're no longer strictly boring squares. They're still sort of squarish, but they're not as bad as they used to be. They have a little bit more individuality to them when they're being generated. You have a bit of curves. You see the streets are curving a little bit better, but it's still sort of roads that are going through it, and you have a bunch of POIs. But if you look around, if you just take a moment, just look at this visual representation of this city, and you'll see most of the buildings in there are unique. Now, they're not going to be fully unique. There are going to be some that are going to be repeated, but it looks a lot better. You have a big apartment complex over there. You have the fire station over there. Let's see, we have a factory over there. We have another apartment building over there, so that one is being duplicated. I think we have maybe the waterworks over there, maybe a couple of shops. You have some drive-thrus and everything. Because they've put in so many new POIs, it just made it look a lot better. You do have sort of the residential areas, as you can see. You do have a bit more of the downtown shopping and everything. So they do look a lot better, even though it is sort of squarish. You don't, if you're looking at the streets, The road that is leading in is effectively the same road that is going around. Different thickness and everything, but it's the same kind of road. There is no real changes there. But at least it's been changed up to having different, little bit of different districts with a little bit different looks depending on the city, the size of it, and how it's been laid out. So it's a lot better, more variety. If you would ask me a year ago if I had thought about any changes to the city generation, I probably wouldn't have thought that this is something that they should be spending a lot of time on. But this is where Alpha 20 finally comes in. Let's have a look at a screenshot that they have published a while ago. You have a cop on a street, and it's a street cop, as it were. Looks like a pretty nice neighborhood. We can see some buildings behind, and we have this intersection which has sidewalks. You have a pedestrian crossing. And you see the fat guy in the back left, he's actually crossing on it. And we have street lights, of course, they're all red. Damn it. Even during the apocalypse, all the lights are red. Damn it. And we have a second one here. We have a horde of zombies that are coming towards you. And you can see, this is sort of the downtime where you have, again, another intersection. You have the street lights, and you have even a trash bin there. You have the pedestrian crossing has been marked and what looks like some parking spaces where the red car is as well. So it definitely is different than what you can see in Alpha 19 and earlier. Third one I'm going to show you is sort of at dusk, and you can see the street lights are actually working. And you see that cute pedestrian signal which is at the crossing, which is really cool. It's a nice touch. It makes you wonder why they have so many intersections. Is that all they generate, or how does it look for the rest of it? But here's where it gets even more interesting. The FunPimps recently released some more screenshots, and here's a great view of a city. It looks like it's quite a massive snow biome, and there's even a canal. Wood drains that go underneath the road. And if we look a little bit closer, you can see how nice that looks. You have the street level, and then you have the drains underneath. And I wonder how far these drains actually go under the streets, because it looks like a pretty nice place to be, maybe not be setting up a base, but if you want to traverse a city, going in the drains might be safer, at least at night, than going above ground. That makes it sort of a bit of verticality as well, and not just flat ground and the POIs and that's it, because this gives you sort of underneath as well, which is really nice. And here's another screenshot, and you can see the change in the city layout. We have the POIs, but they're not just plopped down beside a normal road. It's actually an actual city street. You can see the sidewalks, you can see the parking lots there, lane markings, and doesn't that just make it look so much more natural? It looks like a downtown area of a, medium-sized town. Moving down in perspective, it looks even better. You can see the sort of the streets here. You have what looks like a bus shelter there as well. You can see the POIs that are laid out sort of beside it, sort of trying to mesh into the layout of how the city street is. And I think that looks amazing. And if you look in the middle towards the far back, it looks like there's an overhead bridge. I'm not sure whether it's a car bridge or whether it's just a pedestrian crossing, but it looks really nice. Again, it helps with that, make it look not so flat, because you'll have bridges across, you'll have the drains below in some areas, so you go away from this flatness of cities that have been there for so long. So how do they accomplish all this new stuff? Well, the FunPimps recently have showed off their new city tile tech, which you can see here. You see the layout being built with randomized buildings. You have the streets all set up, sidewalks, decorations, and the appropriate city POIs spawn next to it. And while, of course, buildings won't change in the world, you're not going to have the city looking like one way and then a different way when you get to it the next time, but it shows how it's all being randomized based on the size of the buildings and the appropriate type for that city area. Here we have a bit more industrial, we have a more plain normal street layout, and then the buildings being set up appropriately next to it. Now, it's really interesting because it means that the generation must have some type of generation also for the streets themselves, because they will include trees, sidewalks, parking spots, and so on, depending on the city districts. And you will have sidewalks and on the downtown, but not on the industrial. And that looks really awesome. And this is where I would expect to see the downtown drain tiles as well, with the drainage system. So how have they done all this? Well, why don't we listen to the FunPimps themselves as they explain some of the underlying build-up and technology.
So what you're looking at here is a list of districts. We're changing random gen cities to be based on districts. So different districts will have different POIs in them. So a residential district would be where you find the houses, and a commercial district would be where you find stores, industrials where you find the factories, and so on. So we have quite a few different ones now. But the other cool thing about that, that Robert touched on it a little bit, is that we'll be able to make the ground different depending on the district you're in. So residential, the streets will have sidewalks, and they'll have fire hydrants and light poles and all the types of things that you would expect to find in a neighborhood. Where something like industrial, you'll find more concrete and abandoned lots and those sort of things. So it'll feel a lot more like a real city.
So imagine having all the sidewalks and everything, how cool that will look. And then comparing to what we have in Alpha 19, which is nice, but still super basic, where there are no real sidewalks. There's just regular roads that cut through a city and POIs that are there. It doesn't look real in the same sense, and I think that's going to be a really big change. It's going to be really nice to see that come together. I'm really excited with it. But what do you think? After Alpha 20, while I can see them tweaking the city generation, it really looks like it's ready for prime time. Finally giving us a real city and not just a square grid of houses. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and stay tuned for more Alpha 20 news from me next week. Have a great one. Oh, you did hit that like button, right? Thank you. See you next time.
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the vetted community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.